3b. We're picking up 2, 4, 6, 7 lines up from the bottom. A lot to do today. So remember again, we're discussing the idea. We quoted the Brisa yesterday, discussing the different things that if a father goes ahead and leaves to his sons, that the sons inherit. So the Gemara says Mukdoshin. One of the things that the Brisa spoke about was that if the father goes ahead and leaves behind consecrated items, that those are inherited by the son, gets pishnayim. To which the Gemara says Mukdoshin lavdi deinenu. I don't understand, why would the son inherit Hekdesh? At the end of the day, the Hekdesh does not belong to the father. Hekdesh ultimately belongs to the Beis Hamikdash. So how could it be that the son is going to inherit it? To which the Gemara says B'Kachim Kalim. To which the Gemara answered mostly that we're dealing with Kachim Kalim. Remember again, in the world of Kachim, different types of karbanos have different levels of sanctity. So there's something called Kachim Kalim. So the Gemara says Va'aliba. In just a moment, Va'aliba Rabbi Yossi Haglili, and this Bryce reflects the view of Rabbi Yossi Haglili. Amar Mamon Bailemu. Bless you. Rabbi Yossi Haglili holds that Kachim Kalim are considered to be the property of the person who owns them. Take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment. Amar Mamon Bailemu. So we'll say it's 2, 4, 6, 7 lines up from the bottom. So the Gemara says, so we'll say, so the Gemara understands over here that these, we'll call this category of sacrifices, called Kodshim Kalim, ultimately, because of their lesser level of sanctity, are in fact considered to be the property of the owner. So the Rashbam says, if you want to know, if you want to, we'll say, like the litmus test for whether or not something is considered to be personal property, you can ask one simple question. Can you use it as a mechanism to affect Kiddushin? In other words, can a man be Makadish a woman with this particular item? If the answer to that is yet, then that is demonstrative of ownership. So we'll say, therefore, in this particular case over here, Rabbi Yossi Haglili holds that Kachim Kalim could be used to affect Kiddushin of a woman. So the Gemara says, this Sanya, Uma'ala Ma'al Ba'Hashem. So I'll say this pasuk is actually talking about, interestingly enough, a discussion about if somebody is holding onto property on behalf of someone else, and they go ahead, I was going to say something, right? So they're holding onto property on behalf of someone else, and so again, then they deny the fact that they ever had possession of that property. So let's say again, I entrusted my Kachim Kalim with Ruvain. Ruvain then goes there and says, I don't know what you're talking about. It turns out that he's lying. So we'll say, so the halacha is, when he's then found to be lying, there are certain penalties that are imposed upon him. The halacha is that applies even by Kachim Kalim. So even if I entrusted my Kachim Kalim with him, Lemaisa, again, and he denies the existence of those Kachim Kalim, the halacha is, I will say, that he is liable for that. Shein Mamon Bailin Rabbi Yossi Haglili. Because ultimately, again, they are considered to be the property of the owner, and these are the words of Rabbi Yossi Haglili. Therefore, I will say the Gemara suggests when the Brisa says that if the father has mukdashin in his possession, they transfer as Yerusha to the sons. That's dafka referring to Kachim Kalim in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Haglili. Next case, hiniach lan avihan para muchrachas umuskeres biyad acherim. So remember, the Brisa also said, let's say the father owned the cow, and at the time of the father's death, the cow was muchrachas, which is a form of a lease agreement, where owner and lesser go ahead and share in the profits, ultimately, of whatever the animal does. Muskeres also refers to just a stam leased animal, for which there is a leasing fee. So if the father dies, these animals are leased or rented out to another. O shahaisa roa be'efer. Or for that matter, again, the animal was just grazing out on the field. V'yolda, and the animal gave birth. So b'char notelba pishnayim. So also the keys over here is where the animal was giving birth after the death of the father. So yet the Brisa rules that halacha l'maisa, the b'char gets to keep pishnayim, double portion, in that which is born. To which the Gemara says, let's analyze this. Hashta muchreches biyadach. Hashta muchreches umuskeres the lab birshusa demardi do kaima amrit shakil ro shakil. So I'll say if in a case ultimately again of where the cow is rented out and leased out, where it's not in the rishus of the father at the time of his death, yet we said that a bachar takes pishnayim. So we'll say, do I even have to mention the case of where the animal is just free range grazing? Of course, if the animal is, we'll say, if even when the animal is in the rishus of another person, the bachar is going to get pishnayim. Then, of course, if the animal is just grazing itself on the range, then ultimately the bachar is going to get pishnayim. To which the Gemara says, I'll tell you, here's the difference. So the Gemara says, we'll say the Bryce is coming to teach me that the case of where the animal is leased out is comparable to the case where the animal is just grazing on its own. How so? It was just as when the animal is grazing out on the free range by itself. So any improvements that happen what we call the mela, de facto improvements, nothing to do with the yarshin, and they're velo kachasi b'mizora, and the yarshin are not spending any money having to go out and sustain the animal. Tap of kuf chav dalid, af mufreches umuskeres shvacha d'memela kaasi telo chasi b'mizora. They will say so too when the animal is leased out and the animal ultimately is improved. In this case, it gives birth. So we'll say because the Yisomim are not putting in the money ultimately to support the animal, or to enhance the animal, therefore the Bechor will get Pishnaim on this. So we'll say what the Gemara is suggesting is the following. That, remember, we have a very interesting case over here of where the inheritance object changes after the death of the father. So when the father died, it was a cow. Then again, subsequent to the division of the estate, what happens? The cow gives birth. The shaila now is what? Now obviously the fact that all the children will share in the calf, that's obvious. The shaila is what? Does the bachar get pishnayim? Does he get a double portion in the calf as well? We'll say what the Gemara is suggesting is the following. The Bryce is very specific in its cases that it chooses. It chooses a case of an animal that was leased out to someone else. So there's someone else caring for the animal at the time of death of the father and at the time that the calf was born. Second case the Bryce chooses is where what? The animal is just grazing on its own in some field. So we'll say, so the Gemara suggests the following. In cases like that, where the appreciation of the animal was what's called mamela, it comes on its own. When we say comes on its own, we mean that the Yisomim are not actively caring for the animal. If the Yisomim are not actively caring for the animal and the animal appreciates somehow, then in that case, the Bachar gets a double portion of the appreciation, of the newfound appreciation after the death of the father. But we would infer from this that if the Yisomim, let's say the father dies, and the Yisomim begin taking care of the animal and begin feeding the animal and sharing the expenses in the animal, and then the animal gives birth, then in a case like that, the Bachar would not take Pishnayim. So we'll say this is what we call Shivcha Da'asi Memela. So appreciation that kind of comes, quote unquote, on its own. And the definition of on its own is that the Yisomim are not being metabel. The Yisomim are not involved in the care of the animal. Then any appreciation that occurs is considered to be de facto appreciation. Bachar shares in Pishnayim with de facto appreciation. But if the Yisomim are caring for the animal, and when we say caring for, they're spending their money to care for the animal, then Lamaisa, again, the Bachar would not take a double portion in appreciation that occurs after the death of the father. That's the Havamina now. That's not going to be the Halacha Lamaisa. Someone says money. We'll say second line, so whose opinion does this reflect? Rebbe, we'll say this is the opinion of Rebbe. The Sanya, Ein Bechar Notel Pishnayim B'Shevach, Sheshavchu Nechasam La'achar Misasavi. And we'll say the Rabbanan holds that a Bechar does not take a double portion in appreciation that occurs after the death of the father. We'll say it's actually very interesting. The Rabbanan's Shita essentially is that the we'll call it the inheritance amounts are locked in when? At the time of the death of the father. And if there's any subsequent appreciation, so we'll say that is shared by the children, but the Bechor does not get Pishnayim on this. Now when we say, by the way, that inheritance amounts are locked in at the time of death, of course that's only a din in appreciation, not depreciation. In other words, if the estate is worth $1 million at the time of death of the father, then by the time they divide up the estate, it's worth $500,000. The Bechor, of course, can't go ahead and extract additional monies from his brothers for his Pishnayim. But I will say, but in the event that the estate appreciates after the death of the father, the Rabbanon hold that what? The Rabbanon hold that Lemaisa, Bechor does not go ahead and share in the appreciation of Pishnayim, appreciation of the estate. So the Gemara says, Rabbi says, no. Omer Ani, Bechor Notel Pishnayim, Sheshav B'Shevach, Sheshav Chunechasim La'achar Misasadiyan. Rabbi, on the other hand, says, no. If the estate appreciates after the death of the father, before the estate is divided up, then absolutely the Bechor shares in that Pishnayim. In other words, the Bechor gets his Pishnayim, according to Rabbi, in whatever the estate is worth at the time of what? At the time of the division. So we'll say, so essentially, what the machlokes over here is the following. The Rabbanon will say that the Bechor's Pishnayim interest is locked in at the time ultimately of death, whereas Rabbi will hold, whereas Rabbi holds that the Pishnayim interest of the Bechor is locked in, or not locked in, but rather is determined at the time of the actual division of the estate. So the Gemara says, however, even Rabbi holds, Rabbi said that is only true of what? That's only true if the appreciation came on its own. If the Yisomim, meaning the other brothers other than Bechor, were actively working to sustain the animal, to sustain the estate, and they put in their own efforts, the Bechor does not share in Pishnayim in any of that appreciation. So the Gemara goes weiter. Well, so listen to this case. Now we're going to go to a number of different inheritance cases. Yarshu Shtarchov. We'll say, let's say the estate inherits a debt. The estate inherits a debt. Look at the Rashbam for just a moment. Yarshu Shtarchov. It's almost right across in the Rashbam, about 6 lines down. Yarshu Shtarchov. Hainu milva b'shtar. And the chayva the muchsak b'shtar. Va'afa pi. Excuse me. Va'al pi ashtar. So also listen to this. So the Gemara suggests the following case. Father dies, and before he died, he had lent money to Reuven. So what happens? When he dies, obviously that document is inherited by the Yarshim. So Yarshu Shtarchov, Bechor Notal Pishnayim. Ultimately, again, the Bechor goes there, and inherits a double portion in the collection amount of that shtarchov. Now we'll say, the Gemara's understanding over here, now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, well, how can that be? We learned that a Bechor only gets Pishnayim in Muchsak and not Roi. He only gets Pishnayim in that property which is owned by the father, which is owed to the father. So we'll say, so what the Gemara is saying over here is that when you have a shtarchov, right, when you have a document that ultimately spells out a note, a loan that is due to you, that is considered to be like muchsak, the Gemara is suggesting. Because the estate has that shtar, that loan is considered to be as if it's already collectible. It's as if it's muchsak and not just roy. We'll say, what about the flip case? Yotzale and shtarchov. We'll say, let's say the father dies and he owes money. So we'll say, listen to this. So Bechor nosein pishnayim. So we'll say, interestingly enough, the same way that the oldest brother gets pishnayim, gets a double portion of the estate, he also has to pay a double portion in the debts. But say, take a look at the Rashbam, first wide line. So I'll say, ultimately, in this case, the father died, and he died owing money to someone else. Fine. The Chorno say, look at the next Rashbam. So we'll say, the Gemara's understanding over here say the same thing, meaning if the Bechor takes Pishnayim of the estate, all of the property of the estate, the assumption is what? Is encumbered by any debts that the father had. So therefore, the Bechor who takes Pishnayim in the estate also is chayiv for Pishnayim of the debts of the estate. Now, it's not all debts, by the way. It'll have to be the type of debts that would be encumbered by real property. So the Gemara says, however, listen to this. So let's say the Bechor says, V'mamar, Eini no saying the Eini no tell. So let's say the Bechor says, you know what? Listen, here's the deal. I forfeit my Pishnayim portion, but in return for forfeiting what's owed, what's due to me, or what I'm entitled to, I also go ahead and free myself from double liability for paying back the debts of the estate. Rashai, mostly he has the right to do that. Take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment. The Rashbam says, Amar Eini Notel, Pishnayim Echol Yerusha Savi, Sharin Mochel Chelik Bechora. I'm hereby being Mochel, my Chelik, my double portion of the Bechora, Ve'etel chilek pashat. Now, remember in this case, the Bechor is not forfeiting his Yerusha. What he's forfeiting is what? The Pishnayim. So I'm forfeiting my additional portion. I'll just inherit alongside the rest of you guys. Ulefichach lo eshalem lemilva pishnayim ela kineged ma sha'ani notel ma sha'ani notel. So it says, therefore, again, the same way that I'm forfeiting my chilik as a bechor for the inheritance, I'm also from additional responsibility to pay back the debts of our father. So we'll say ultimately again in this case over here, we'll say this is not a novelty. This is true any time that a person is granted an entitlement, right? Whether that entitlement is rabbinic or biblical, so a person has the right to say, no, thank you. No, thank you. It's okay. I don't need it. So in this case over here, the oldest brother, depending on what the debts of the estate are, may just make the decision to say, you know what, I don't need this headache. I don't want to deal with this. Therefore, if he gives up Pishnayim, we'll call it on the revenue side, he also is able to free himself from Pishnayim on the expense side.
Is that true if there are only debts and there's no revenue coming?
There is what we call an estate, like an estate veil, for lack of a better term, like the cover, meaning Yorshim are never personally liable. So the extent of a Yorish's liability for his father's debts is whatever the assets are on the estate. So if a man dies penniless and he's owed money, the Yorshim are not on the hook for that. So the Gemara goes weiter. My time at Dermos. So now what we have over here is a fundamental machlokes between the Rabbanon and Rebbe. Between the Rabbanon and Rebbe. We'll say, and again, that machlokes is focused on what happens if estate property appreciates after the death of the father. Does the Bechor take Pishnayim in that newfound post-death appreciation? So the Rabbanon say no. Rebbe says yes. Says the Gemara, my time the Rabbanon. So we'll say, what's the Rabbanon's logic for saying that the Bechor does not get Pishnayim in post-appreciation or post-death appreciation? So the Gemara says, Amar Kra lo seis lo Pishnayim. So we'll say, this is actually very interesting. The Rabbanon is saying, the Pasuk says that the Bechor is given Pishnayim. Actually, remember, the Torah over here is talking about a case where a man has two sons, and he does not, from two wives, one who he loves, one who he doesn't love, and the Bechor happens to be the Ben Asnua, happens to be from the wife that he does not like. So the Torah is telling us, the Torah commands him that ultimately, again, he still has to give Pishnayim to the Bechor, to the biological Bechor, even though, again, it's not his favorite son. So the Gemara says, Lo seis lo Pishnayim. Given Pishnayim. So what's according to the Rabbanon, Matana Karye Rachmana. But say in the Torah's view, says the Rabbanon, Pishnayim, the double portion, is Matana. It's a gift. So the Gemara says, so based on this, what does this mean for us? Ma Matana ad Dimatya Liade. So I'll say, just like a Matana, I can only give you a Matana if what? If what? If I have it. If I'm the nosin, if I'm the giver of the gift, I want to give you a gift. But I can only convey to you a gift if I have it in my possession. You can't gift something that you don't own, that you don't have. Afchilek, we'll say if you take a look, it's fine. If you Afchilek bechora ad demat yadeh. So we'll say so too over here. When it comes to the bechor, when it comes to the Pishnayim is a gift that the father gives his bechor. That gift can only be conveyed when ultimately, again, the father has possession of it. So we'll say, this is actually quite interesting because what this is saying over here is the Rabbanon's almost world view of inheritance, or I should say, a Pishnayim is, it's a matana. So again, if it's a matana, then it's structured after the laws of gift giving. I can't gift something that I do not yet possess. So to the can't gift Pishnayim property or Pishnayim property that he does not yet possess. Therefore, again, because this appreciation occurs after his death, therefore there's no Pishnayim in it. So the Rebbe says, Amrikra, Pishnayim. So Rebbe says, remember, the Torah refers to the double portion as a double portion. Makish chelik bechora lechelik pashat. The Torah equates the double. Remember, this goes back to yesterday's sukkah. We defined what's the definition of Pishnayim. The definition of Pishnayim is double what the other brother gets. So we'll say, so the again, according to Rebbe saying Pishnayim is a derivative of regular inheritance. It's just times two. I mean, it's not its own construct. It's the laws of regular inheritance just times 2. So the Gemara says, watch this. Machilik pashet. So therefore, I will say Pishnaim is compared to regular inheritance. So just like regular inheritance, afagav de lo mataliyade. We both say, when it comes to regular inheritance, what's the halacha? The halacha is we both say that when a father dies, his son inherits everything, right? And everything means what? That which the father owns, and as well as what? That which is coming to the father. Remember, again, I both say, when we spoke about that a son doesn't get ro'i, like he gets muchsak, that's only in Pishnayim. But in regular inheritance, I both say, the halacha is when a father dies, everything is inherited by the sons, including whatever future entitlements the father has. So therefore, Rebbe says, it's compared to regular inheritance. Just like regular inheritance, Rabbi say, a son inherits that, even which his father does not yet own. So too, ultimately, again, when it comes to the Bechor, Rabbi say, so Rebbe will say that even though the father, quote unquote, does not yet own it, or did not own it at the time of his death because it didn't yet exist, nevertheless, the same way that the other brothers could share in that inheritance when they divide it up, so too the Bechor will get a Pishnaim in post-death appreciation as well. I suppose now the Gemara asks, again, what each one is going to do with the other pasuk. So Rabbanon nami haksiv Pishnaim. So what did the Rabbanon do with the phrase Pishnaim? Hahu lemesvale achad metzah. Rabbi says it's actually quite interesting. The Rabbanon learn out that when the Bechor gets his Pishnaim, Rabbi say that the other brothers have to give him contiguous lots. Rabbi say, I might have thought that Pishnaim means he has to get a double portion, but perhaps it's at the whim of the brothers where to give him those 2 portions. So they can give him one field over here on the east side, one field on the west side, to which the Gemara says, no, Pishnai means that part of his right of a double portion is what? Is that Lamaisa, again, he has an entitlement to get contiguous fields. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Nami, Haksiv lo says lo. But what does Rabbi do with the phrase to give him lo says lo? In other words, to Rabbanan understand that phrase means that Yerusha has like the din of a matana. So what does Rebbe do with this? Haru shim amar ini notel ve'ini no saying rashai. Rebbe learns that from there. That's what? That teaches me that the Bechor has the right to say, no thank you, no thank you. I'm not taking Pishnayim and I'm not paying Pishnayim. Amar Papa. So we'll say Papa goes in. He says Zikla va'alan. So we'll say now that what we've established is fundamental machlokes between Rebbe and the Chachamim as to whether or not a Bechor shares in post-death appreciation of the estate. And remember, to be clear, this is where the estate appreciates after death, but before the division of estate property. So we'll say along those same lines. The Gemara asks the father, Papa, let's say the father dies, and he leaves behind one palm tree. But Baruch Hashem, the palm tree grows big. Va'alim, it grows strong. The Rashbam says over here, we'll say 4 lines up from the bottom. Va'alim, shenis ava acharikein, v'chini niach lahen ara. So we'll say fine. So dikla va'alim, or next case, ara va'asik sirton. Or I will say, for that matter, the father left behind land, and then the land became filled with sediment, which is a good thing. It makes the soil more fertile. So in all of these cases, there's property that's left behind, and then the property changes. So I'll say, so what's the shaila? The shaila is, so how does this work lagabi inheritance? Ducholi amalo pligi the shakil. I will say everyone agrees ultimately again that the Bechor takes pishnayim in this property. Why? Now the Rashbam says the shakil dadayin shmalav, because they both say even though the object has changed, its identity has remained intact. In other words, the tree is still a tree, and the field is still a field. But watch this. Says the Gemara. But what happens? Kipligi bichafura v'havashuli. We'll say what happens if the father died and he left behind shoots, right? Shoots and the shoots of grain, and the grain then becomes shuvli. We'll say so. Shuvli are ears of grain, or shalufafi, or ultimately again he left behind date tree, but the dates were only blossoms v'havu tamri, and then they become dates. So we'll say in this case, what's happening over here? When the father died, he left X, and now again those items have transformed into something else. So the identity has changed. The object has fundamentally changed. So we'll say, so the shaila is over here, what's the rights of the Bechor in these situations? To which the Gemara says, the Mar Savar Shivcha de Mela. So we'll say, one opinion says that Lamaisa, again, this is just de facto change. And de facto appreciation, Bechor still goes ahead and gets the share in the Pishnayim. Umar Savar Ishtani. whereas the other opinion says no, that halacha l'maisa, the object has undergone a fundamental change, and therefore what? And therefore l'maisa, again, the bechor will not go ahead and get to share in this pishnai. So take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment. Ishtani ha'isev lios chitin va'prachim lios tamarim david davar acher v'shem acher. So you both say the Rashbam says over here this case is different because the name of the object is different. Once the name changes, then by definition the identity of the object is here. So we'll say, well, and again we're not finished yet, but what we have over here is the following. What begins as a machlokes between Rebbe and the Rabbanon, namely regarding estate property that appreciates after the death of the father. Does the Bechor get to share in the Pishnayim of that newly appreciated property? Rabbanon say no, Rebbe says yes. That machlokes now continues. What happens if it's not just appreciation, but it's change? To which the Gemara says, well, it depends what kind of change. Everyone agrees that if the name of the object is the same, and the essence of the object is the same, it's just changed in its form. So, for example, it was a small tree, now it's a big tree. It was a regular field, now it's a fertile field. Everyone will agree that essentially it's the same property. And again, what happens, however, if the actual identity changes? If the father died, it was shoots, now it's ears of grain. We'll say father died, it was blossoms, now it's dates. The surah, the form has changed, and the name has changed. Does the Bechor take Pishnayim? And I both say that's a machlokes. Now again, we're not finished yet. Amar Rabba Bar, we'll say last line, Kufaf Amud Aleph. Amar Rabba Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Chia. Asa k'divrei Rebbe Asa, Asa k'divrei Chachamim Asa. So we'll say Rabba Bar Chana says, name of Chia, if you're paskin like Rebbe, you're okay. If you're paskin like the Rabbanon, you are okay. Why? Why does he say that? I both say, Mesavkalei, Iyalach Krabi Mechaveiro, Below Mechaveirov. So we'll say, listen to this. The Gemara Maseches Eruvin says that under normal circumstances, the halacha follows Rebbe Mechaveiro. Whenever Rebbe is going ahead and arguing against another person, the halacha always follows Rebbe. There's a machlokes of Rabosai. Did the Gemara just mean to say Mechaveiro or Mechaveirav? Rabosai, the difference between Chaveiro and Chaveirav is singular, Chaveirav is plural. What happens when Rebbe argues against more than one person? We know when Rebbe goes up against one-on-one, Rebbe wins. When Rebbe goes up against a larger group, does Rebbe win as well? So we'll say that is a machlokes. So apparently Rabbi Rachana was Mesupak. So we'll say in this case over here, who's the machlokes between Rebbe and the Chachamim, which means Rebbe is up against the group. So Rabbi Rachana was Mesupak. We'll say, do we say that halacha follows Rebbe only when he's arguing against one person, or even when he argues against the group? He's Mesupak, he's not sure, and therefore because of that he paskin, if I pass like Rebbe, it's good, pass like the Rabbanon, it's good. Amarav Nachman Amarav, Asr Lasos K'divrei Rebbe. Wow. So Nachman comes along and says a Rav Nachman's pretty short. He says it is Asr to conduct yourself like Rebbe. It is also to conduct yourself like Rebbe. Why? As Rav Nachman holds, Kasavar, Halacha Kari Mechavirav, V'lo Mechaviro. Because ultimately he paskins that we hold, yes, the halacha always follows Rebbe when Rebbe is in a one-on-one argument, but when Rebbe is up against a collective, against the Rabbim, the halacha follows the Rabbim. Therefore, both say because in this case the machlokes is between Rebbe and the Chachamim, the halacha will follow the Chachamim and not Rebbe. So Rav Nachman di Day Amar, Mutter La'asos K'divrei Rebbe. And I will say, interestingly enough, you see, right before, this was Rav Nachman saying over a teaching in the name of Rav. The Gemara now suggests that, however, Rav Nachman himself holds that what? Mutter la'asos k'divrei Rebbe. He holds that you can paskin like Rebbe and allow the Bechor to share in post-death appreciation. Kasavar, why? Kalocha k'Rebbe mechaviro va'afilo mechavirav. Because Rav Nachman is of the personal opinion that the halacha follows Rebbe in all cases, both when Rebbe argues against an individual as well as when Rebbe argues against a collective. Amar Rava, so Rava says, we'll say, Asalasos k'divrei Rebbe. So Rava says it is asr to paskin like Rebbe. Vim asa asur. Rava says this is interesting. So Rava says you're not allowed to paskin like Rebbe. And Rava says you understand even the lashon of us. See what's fascinating about this verbiage is interesting because we'll say in general we are very positive people. very positive people. I'm not saying every person is positive. We have a lot of like cynical people, but as a nation, as a klal, we're a very positive nation. I will say, so what does this mean? To say that it's us lasos k'divrei Rebbe is not normally how a Jew would talk. How would a Jew talk? Halacha k'Rabbanan. Say positive. We'll say in general in life, right? In general in life, we'll say klal gadol is you never define yourself by what you're not. Right? You never define yourself by what you're not. You define yourself by what you are. So don't tell me asr lasos k'divrei Rebbe. Tell me halacha k'Rabbanan. And that's all. Let's be upbeat. Let's be positive. What's the pshat asr lasos k'divrei Rebbe? So I want to listen to this. This is fascinating. So Rebbe says asr lasos k'divrei Rebbe. V'masa, but if you did it, asr. So it is asr to paskin like Rebbe, but if you went ahead and you did paskin like Rebbe, it's fine. In other words, we'll say, what does that mean practically? What that means is if you divide it up in a state based on shitas Rebbe, so you shouldn't divide up in a state that way, but if you did, it stands. So the Gemara says, kasavar matin. So we'll say, apparently, Rav is of the opinion of we'll say that we don't know if the halacha follows Rebbe mechavira or mechavirav, but we incline to say a little bit. So even though matines adin achar derech chacham, Rashbam says, so we kind of tilt the din. Matin means we tilt the din in the favor of the chachamim, but in the event that you ended up asking like Rebbe, it's fine. So I'll say, so again, interestingly enough, halacha l'maisa, the Gemara says over here that even Rebbe who says that even Rav says aslas Rebbe, that means is that we try to paskin like the chachamim, but in the event that you paskin like Rebbe, we would not force you to redivide the estate because you made a mistake in Chalukah. Itmar. Tani Ramna. The Gemara says, I'm sorry. Kasavar matin itmar. So it's all part of the same phrase. Tani Rav Nachman. Bishar Sifrei Devei Rav. So we'll say Rav Nachman taught in the other, literally, Bishar Sifrei Devei Rav means I will say in the other collections of teachings that came out of the yeshiva of Rav. B'chol asher yimatzeh lo. Remember again, the pasuk says that the bechor gets pishnaim, he gets a double portion. B'chol asher yimatzeh lo. With anything that is owned by the father. So the Gemara says, Prat l'shevach sheshbichu yarshin la'achar misa saviyim. We will say, what does this come to exclude? This comes to exclude ultimately, again, any appreciation that occurs in the estate that was done as a result of the work of the yarshin. So I will say, pretty much everyone will agree, or we'll see everyone will agree, that if the estate appreciated because the yarshin worked the estate, that the bechor does not get pi shnayim. However, aval shevach sheshavchu nechasim la'achar misa saviyan shakyo. But I will say, if at the end of the day the estate appreciated, quote unquote, on its own, and that's why the classic example of that is the cow is out grazing on its own and gives birth to a calf or fattens up, whatever it is. Let's say that's called appreciation that came on its own. So that the bechor will take pi shnayim. Umani, and I will say whose opinion is reflected in this brisa. Rebbe, ultimately, this is the view of Rebbe. Tani Rami Bar Chama, Bishar Sifrei Devei Rav. So we'll say Rami Bar Chama taught from the other collections of teachings from the yeshiva of Rav. B'chol asher yimatzeh. The pasuk says that the bechor takes pishnayim in anything that the bechor has. Prat l'shevach sheshavchu nechasim la'achar misa savien. I will say this comes to exclude any post-death appreciation. Right, that if the estate depreciates after death, the father, the bechor does not take pishnayim. The chol shekain shevach shesh bichu yarshin la'achar misa saviyin delo shakel. And on the Moser will say if the appreciation occurred, why? Because the yisomim worked the field, then of course, or whatever. I don't mean the field, I mean the estate. Then all the more so the bechor does not take pishnayim in that. Umani, and I will say whose opinion is reflected in the statement? Rabbanani. This is the opinion of the Rabbanan. So we'll say, interestingly enough, out of the different teachings of Rav, you have some teachings that reflected the view of Rebbe, some teachings that reflected the view of the Rabbanan. Amar Rav Yudam Shmuel, Ein bechor notel pishnayim b'milveh. So what's interestingly enough, Rav Yehuda said the name of Shmuel, that a bechor does not take pishnayim in milveh. So we'll say that what this means is, father dies, he lent money to someone, father lent money to Reuven, so father dies, the money is owed to the estate. So comes along and reads the name of Shmuel that a bechor does not take pishan, does not get a double portion in a debt, in a loan owed to the estate. So the Gemara says, Laman, whose opinion does this reflect? Ilay mother Rabbanan. So I'll say if you want to say it's the Rabbanan, Hashta shivcha diisei birashusei amri Rabbanan lo shakil milva mibai. So I'll say according to the Rabbanan, even appreciation that occurs to property that is already owned by the estate, but the appreciation occurs after death, a Bechor doesn't take Pishnayim. According to the Rabbanon, do I need to say that money that's not even yet part of the estate, the Bechor doesn't take Pishnayim? I mean, that's obvious. El Rebbe. So rather, you have to say the Brisa reflects the view of Rebbe. What about the next Brisa that says Yarshu Shtarchov, that if they inherited a Shtarchov, Bechor notal Pishnayim, Bein B'milva, Bein B'ribis. Let's say again, this is the case of where the father lent a Gentile money. You remember, so you're permitted to lend a non-Jew money with interest. Father dies, that shtar is owed to the estate. So now this Brisa says that the Bechor takes Pishnayim both in what? In principle and in interest. So whose opinion is this? Money. Lo Rebbe v'lo Rabbanon. So whose opinion does this reflect? I'm sorry, did I skip here? I'm sorry, so many of us say, whose opinion does this reflect? Money. Lo Rebbe v'lo Rabbanon. So I will say this ultimately again won't be the opinion of Rebbe, not the Rabbanon. To which the Gemara says, no. The Olam Rabbanon. In reality, I will say this ultimately is the opinion of the Rabbanon. The Itzterich Salkadait Chamina. I will say I need this case. Why? Because I would have thought the following: Milva Kevan the Nakich Dara Kiman the Gabi Damya. So I would have thought that because of Halva, because this loan has a supporting document, it's as if what? It's already collected by the estate. And therefore, what Rabbi say? And therefore, Alocha Lamaisa, again, I would have thought that therefore the Bechor should get Pishnayim in it. Kamash Shmuel, no. Kamash Shmuel Rabbi say that according to the Rabbanon, ultimately, again, we do not assume that, and therefore the Bechor takes neither Bechor Shnayim in the principle nor in the interest. Shalchu mitam, supposed to be sent from there. Bechor notal Pishnayim b'milva avalo beribis. Supposed to say, now listen to this teaching. So they sent another Bryce from Eretz Yisrael, and what did it say? That a Bechor takes Pishnayim in the principle, but not in the interest. So the man, I will say, who's the vein? Does this reflect? Ilema the Rabbanon. See if you want to say it's the Rabbanon. Hashta shivcha de isei birshu say Amri Rabbanon de lo shakil milva midbay. So we'll say again, according to the Rabbanon, if you don't even take a Pishnayim in post-death appreciation of property that is owned by the estate, so then of course you do not get Pishnayim in something that is not yet owned. It's owed to the estate, but not yet owned by the estate. El Rebbe. So other will say this has to reflect the view of Rebbe. Well, the Rebbe so will say, but here's the problem. So the Brisa says that the Bechor takes Pishnayim in what? He takes Pishnayim in principle, but not in Ribbis. El Rebbe. So the Gemara says El Rebbe, but the Rebbe. The Ribbis low. Why wouldn't the Bechor take Pishnayim in Ribbis as well? V'atanya Rebbe Omer Bechor notal Pishnayim bein b'milva bein b'Ribbis. That was according to Rebbe. Ultimately, again, we saw before that the Bechor should take Pishnayim both in principle as well as interest. To which the Gemara says the Olam Rabbanani Umilva Kiman de Gabi Damya. I will say ultimately again, you're right. The Brisa reflects the view of the Rabbanon, and the novelty of here is that the Rabbanon hold that an outstanding debt that is secured by a document is considered as if what? Is considered as if it's already collected, and therefore again the Bechor will take Pishnayim with that. So we'll say, we'll stop over here for today. I want to share with you a short idea from the parasha, but just understand, we're leaving off in the midst of Machlokes. We're going to resolve it in Meretz Hashem tomorrow on Shabbos. So we're leaving off in the midst of Machlokes. Fundamental difference between Rebbe and the Rabban and Rabbi say as to how it is, does a Bechor get Pishnayim in post-death appreciation of estate property? Rebbe says yes. Rabbanan say no. We saw the further machlokes. So we'll say what happens if that property changes. So a change in form, but no change in name. The Bechor still inherits. A change in name, which is a change in identity, is a machlokes. So we'll say the resolution of this machlokes, and Meretz Hashem we will see tomorrow. So was it just a short vart, beautiful vart on the parsha. So the pasuk says, the pasuk in Bamidbar begins Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe b'Midbar Sinai v'Ohel Moed. So also remember again, Chumash Bamidbar pretty much picks up after the giving of the Torah. So we see the Torah in Har Sinai, and we'll say if you notice again, so the Torah goes out of its way to identify ultimately the Midbar as Midbar Sinai, to almost link the opening of Chumash Bamidbar with Sinaitic revelation, with Kabbalah Satorah. I will say there's an incredible connection in general. We know Parshas Bamidbar, I will say, is always read on the Shabbos before Shavuos. It's the way that the calendar is set up. Because there's a very strong connection, ultimately, again, between the Yisodos of Parshas Bamidbar and the Kabbalah Satorah of the Yom Tov of Shavuos. So I'll say, along those lines, because the Torah introduces this particular sefer with Midbar revelation, so I'll share it. The Merabah says, "Begimel dvarim nitna haTorah." Torah was given of Osai in three different ways, or through three different mediums: Be'esh, B'mayim, u'B'midbar. Torah was given ultimately again through fire, through water, and in a desert. Elaborates of Osai through each of these things, meaning again the Mayim, because really the process of Kabbalah Satorah really begins of Osai with Kriyas Yamsuf. That's really the beginning. If you think about it, that's the beginning of the Kabbalah Satorah experience. That's the Zekili Vandeyu, the beginning of a dramatic relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Eish, because ultimately, again, remember, Har Sinai, the Har Bo'er Ba'ish, the mountain itself was engulfed by flames. And Midbar, ultimately, again, it's given in the middle of the desert. So let's say, what the Medrash is trying to tell us is that these three Yisodos, these three entities of Eish, Mayim, Midbar, are the three necessary entities. They represent different character traits, or they represent different essences that are ultimately necessary for the cultivation of a complete and coherent spiritual identity. So let's listen to what the Shem Yishmael says. He says, Shlosha Dvarim Ha'elu, Samalim Heim La'adam Yisrael Ma'yiska L'kinyan Torah. So Shem Yishmael writes about say that these three things ultimately teach us, these three things represent three different parts of our identity in order to be fully Mekabel Torah, in order to cultivate a real religious identity. Listen to this. Eish, what does fire represent? He says, Shal Heves Ka, Lahat Veslavos Eish Habo Eres B'Lev Yisrael, Hamishtokikim Lavim Shabashar. What does fire represent? Fire represents intensity. That the Rebbe Shalom is telling us that if you want to be successful in your Yiddishkeit, it requires passion. It requires just incredible intensity. If a person just goes through the motions, if a person just behaves or observes their Judaism in a mechanistic, dispassionate way, it's hard to cultivate a relationship like that. We've quoted the Vart from Levi Yitzchak so many times, Hadlaka oseh mitzvah. That Rebbe say it's only if you ignite yourself, it's only if you make yourself on fire, it's only if there's ish, only if you're passionate about your Yiddishkeit, can you go ahead and cultivate a meaningful relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yet Rebbe says the Shem Yishmael, what's Mayim? What does water represent? Kariros umesinos. So what is water? Rebbe says, this is amazing. Water is cold and dispassionate and measured. He says, Yishuv Adas Utzililos Hamachshava Lachshov Cheshbona Shal Torah Buruach Lechona B'Seichel Tov. Rebbe say passion is wonderful, but if passion is unchecked, if a person always makes all of their decisions through the mechanism of passion, you could end up getting yourself into a lot of trouble. So on one hand, Rebbe say, it's amazing. This is why we're such a complicated people. On one hand, I have to be Eish. I have to be on fire. On the other hand, I have to be Mayim. I also have to know how to have a little bit of Karirus, a little bit of Messinos, a little bit dispassionate, a little bit cold, a little bit measured, to know ultimately, again, how to make proper decisions in life. So I have to be Eish and Mayim simultaneously. I will say, by the way, you also understand now, the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh says, because Baruch already taught us this lesson, each of the Makkos had a beautiful lesson for Klal Yisrael, not just for Egypt. We learned this. Where do we learn this lesson? Right, by Barad was Eish Shumayim Mislakachas Ka'avas. The Baal Shem says, I need you to be fierily passionate, and I also need you to be cold as water, cold and measured as water. It will say again, just like, okay, fine, that's water. There's a lot more to say on this, but we don't have time. Next, Midbar. It will say, what's the desert? This is beautiful. Midbar is Vitor Akol Hata'anugos V'cheshke Ha'olam Hazeh Hamonim Es Adam Me'asagas Hashemos. It will say the Midbar teaches us not to be overly materialistic people. It will say, it's the amazing thing. If you're stuck in the desert, it will say, what are you going to be happy with? Okay, so don't be right. Not just water, but if you have water and a tent, right? You have water and shade. Mamish, you're so happy. I will say, in other words, in the desert, it takes very little on a Gashmi level to make me happy. So the Midbar teaches us, Rabbi say, that don't hinge your happiness on gashmius. Don't hinge your happiness and fulfillment on materialism. Because true happiness, Rabbi say, will never come from something you buy. True happiness will never come from something you own. It's nice. Torah is not telling us not to have it. Torah is not telling us that it's usher. Torah is just telling us you can have it, you can enjoy it, but don't think for a moment that that's where your happiness will come from. The Midbar teaches us, Rabbi say, that true happiness comes from the person I create, not from the objects or the possessions that I purchase. Just like in the Midbar, a person is happy with very little. And those little things are supposed to, if you're in a desert and you get that little glass of water, it's the same way, forget about the desert, on a just ridiculously hot day, and you're thirsty and you get that first sip of water. I will say, how do you feel when you get that first sip of water? Like $1 million. Like you feel in that moment probably happier than you feel in so many other situations, like, or there's a cool breeze, or there's a little bit of shade. You feel several. Say, if you could bottle that moment and take it with you throughout life and feel what true happiness means, and it doesn't require all of the other material trappings we sometimes spend our lives pursuing. That's the midbar. So we'll say, says the Shem Shmuel, that's the meaning of the desert. That's the meaning of the Medrash. Kadosh Baruch Hu tells us that Torah was given, right? Torah, begimel dvar nitna Torah. Torah was given in 3 ways, which means that Torah, spirituality, successful living, is accomplished through 3 different tenets. Number 1, Aish, to be passionate about their Yiddishkeit, I will say. Not just to go through the motions, not just to go ahead and get by, but to try to be passionate. Mayim, but I will say, don't let your passion get the best of you. Sometimes in life, you can't approach things with passion. You have to approach it with the kariros and the mesinos, the coldness and the deliberateness of water. Person has to be measured in their approach in life. I have to be passionate, but I also have to be thoughtful and midbar. I will say, recognizing that my happiness in life will never come from something gashmi. The gashmi things I have are nice. The gashmi things I have are enjoyable. The gashmi things I have are pleasurable. But at the end of the day, I will say, those will never be the things that give me happiness. The only true things that give me happiness, I will say, are the Ribono Shel Olam, are His Torah, are His mitzvos, and the ruchnius I'm able to acquire. All right, I will say, shkoyach.